I've been gone for like months, and in that time frame, like, dude, the more CM Punk stuff has come out. AEW ratings have gotten worse. WWE is getting so good. The Rock came back. I'll get to all that stuff. I might make several videos, but what I want to talk about today is the fact that I feel personally betrayed by Tony Khan. I said, whenever my last video was, it was either my last or second last video, I said, Tony Khan, you have 1 year to prove that AEW is still a company that I should be watching. To prove that this is the same company that I fell in love with in 2019, in 2020, and 2021. And I don't see Tony Khan proving that. I mean, obviously Tony Khan has no idea who I am, but if I am the average viewer, Tony Khan is not proving himself to the average viewer. And I saw the CM Punk interview I did with Ariel Helwani, and I mean, first of all, I was watching it, I was like shocked the whole time. I was like, man, like finally, like yes, we're talking about this again. Everybody says, oh, let's move past it. Come on. No, I don't. Listen, I like the drama, and there's obviously so much stuff that fans don't know about what happened on that night at All In. And the more information we get, the better. That's just my opinion. And so I watched it, and I gotta say, I don't think CM Punk was wrong with a lot of the things he said. Don't get me wrong. I don't like Phil Brooks as a person. And since All In and since everything has happened and everything that I've heard, I have lost respect for CM Punk. I really do think he is hard to work with. However, the things he said about AEW and about Tony Khan, I can't disagree with. I can't disagree with that. He is correct when he says that AEW does not care about making money and selling tickets. At the end of the day, he is at fault for a lot of what happened. Jack Perry too. I'll be honest. Hangman went a little bit off script about workers' rights and CM Punk. It's not even what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the fact that Tony Khan has yet to prove that this is still a product that I should be consuming. And I encourage everybody out there watching me right now to reconsider what you're actually watching. Because for all of 2023, I thought, wow, this is it's in a transitional period. I'll wait it out. And, AEW, they'll bounce back. A bunch of stuff happened. CM Punk and stuff and Kenny Omega, they'll bounce back. They haven't bounced back. And the viewership has been decreasing in the last 4 weeks. It was at 752, I believe. 752,000 viewers for yesterday's AEW Dynamite. The week before that, I want to say it was like around 750. The week before that, it was like 800. The week before that, it was like 820. I don't know. I'm making these numbers up, but what I'm just saying that the number has been decreasing, as have ticket sales, right? I mean, in 2023, especially late 2023, those ticket sales were really, really bad. And then 2024 started, and they kind of started to pick back up. I went to the Toronto show myself. There was over 6,000 people in that building. Revolution did like 16,000 people for Sting's last match, and I thought, you know what? This is good. This is momentum. They're going to get out of that transitional period. Okada comes in. Ospreay comes in. Mercedes comes in. I'm excited. And they're not even close. They haven't set up for anything that's going to make me want to watch in the future. You need a weekly show that viewers will want to tune in and watch. WWE was not doing this. AEW came in and they were doing this. The Roman Reigns story, the bloodline, saved WWE. That one single-handed story saved all of World Wrestling Entertainment. Ever since Roman Reigns came back and turned heel, WWE has been skyrocketing upwards, and they show no signs of stopping. What I will say, though, is I don't think Cody being champion is necessarily going to help the viewership. I do think it needs to happen, but man, do I wish Roman Reigns would retain. Roman should hold that belt for 3 more years, honestly. That's my opinion. I haven't been watching WWE consistently for the last 3 years. Maybe this is truly the right time for Cody to win it off Roman. But man, everything Roman Reigns does is so good. It's hard to root against him. It really is. But what I'm saying is early AEW had that weekly episodic television that made you want to tune in and see what was going to happen next. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but what I am saying is I truly believe the Inner Circle was AEW's bloodline. And I know that's a really kind of stupid comparison to make, and a bunch of people probably just left this video. But what I'm saying is the Inner Circle was must-see TV, and it was awesome. And they were I don't know. Inner Circle is one of my favorite factions of all time. I might be alone in that opinion. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, end of AEW episode 1 is you see the Inner Circle all standing tall. Episode 2, Jericho's introducing the Inner Circle, and then there was the Jon Moxley thing. Is Jon Moxley going to join the Inner Circle? They did so much fun stuff with that group. And I truly believe a large chunk of the viewership for early AEW was because of Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle. And then the pandemic happened, and MJF had his Pinnacle. And that was gold too. The Inner Circle versus Pinnacle. That was a really fun story. What I'm trying to say is AEW doesn't have that right now. They don't have a story that is guiding them week by week by week like the Inner Circle did, because the Inner Circle every week, they'd have promos, they'd have matches together, they would do these little segments, these backstage things, and you would notice these things like, okay, well, this is where the story is going. This is how it's progressing. Is MJF going to join the Inner Circle? Is Jon Moxley going to join the Inner Circle? And eventually MJF and Wardlow did, and then they had like this slow burn of a story where MJF creates the Pinnacle, creates his own Inner Circle. They do feuds, and then it was Jericho versus MJF. And these matches that we got, Jericho versus MJF or Inner Circle versus Pinnacle, had months upon months of storytelling behind them. I remember the pandemic era of AEW, and maybe even a little bit past that too. One of the biggest issues with AEW at that time was the fact that stories would go on forever. One of the examples I remember was the Best Friends versus Miro and Kip Sabian story. And I remember thinking at the time, you know, this feud has been going on for months, you know, can we, like, let's get over it, you know, come on, let's go, let's move on. And boy, I would kill to have something like that right now with AEW. I remember thinking the same thing with Jericho and MJF. I was like, wow, this feud is going on this is like a 4-month feud. I am so starving for long-term storytelling at this point. If I could go back in time, I would beat myself up for thinking that and for complaining about that, because I'm like, the entirety of AEW in 2023 had none of that. Right now, it's got none of that. Everyone online is saying that there's no stories with AEW. There's no stories this. They do have stories. I'm here to tell you that right now. They have stories. Okay, the Swerve Joe thing, that's been going on for a little bit, you know, with Hangman and stuff. They had their match at Revolution, and now it's going to be Joe and Swerve. I get it, right? That's a story that's happening. Toni Storm, her whole thing, right? That's a story that's happening. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage just had a great feud. That's great. AEW has stories. I'm not going to sit here and tell you there's no stories. Don't get me wrong. There could be a lot more stories, but they have a few stories sprinkled throughout the show. The problem is, none of those are long-term stories. Absolutely none of them. They don't have these definitive stories that make you want to tune in every week, because you don't know if a story is going to continue on Dynamite or if it's going to continue on Collision. So when I tune in to AEW Dynamite, which is the only AEW show I tune into, because I don't have access to Collision or Rampage, but even if I did, I probably wouldn't watch them. But I only have access to AEW Dynamite, and sometimes I go on there, I'm like, all right, come on, I want like a Christian Cage promo tonight, and instead it's going to happen on Collision, on a show that I don't get to watch. And then we get to the pay-per-views, and there's a great match coming up, and I'm like, wow, I haven't been invested in any of this story, because this is a purely Collision-only story. Or it's a mix of Collision and Dynamite, so I'm only half invested in the story. Or, and this is one of AEW's biggest problems, that match has no story. We are 25% of the way through 2024. So far, Tony Khan has not proven that this is a product that I should be consuming in 2025. I'm probably going to make another video like this in 3 months when we're halfway through the year, and I'm going to give my takes again. Go check out some of my other videos if you want to see a little bit more of my opinions on AEW. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Good night.